Come on in, I'm Finn, and today I'll be redesigning... Wait, my own characters? Some weeks ago, I asked you guys what you wanted me to do for my next video, and oh my god! I literally wrote down the OC lore video just so the poll had 4 options, cause I couldn't come up with any other good ideas. I did not expect you wanted to know about the funny characters that live inside my brain this much. So I'll be redesigning my main OCs and creating reference sheets of all the main cast. That way, I can update their Artfight profiles. Also, yes, I'll be participating in Artfight this year, in case anyone is curious. I've already talked a bit about the story in a previous collab I hosted, just as a short pitch, trying to keep things concise. This video will be a lot more casual and will go more in depth behind the design process. So let me introduce you to my upcoming webcomic project, Tavern Tales. Tavern Tales is set in a D&D inspired universe, and it follows the staff of the titular tavern. It's a whimsical slice of life, extremely character driven, and the most self-indulgent thing I could come up with. I was really struggling to find a story that I wanted to tell and characters that I enjoyed working with. Sometimes I could create characters that I could love, but couldn't for the life of me tell a story with them. Other times I could focus on creating the best, most complex story I could, and failing because I did not like working on it. So I stood back and tried to think about the stories I not only enjoy from an audience perspective, but also a story I could enjoy telling. And oh, I love creating characters. That's my absolutely favorite part of storytelling. I was creating OCs meant to be for character-driven narratives, and tried forcing them afterwards into story-driven ones without thinking about a story first. I'm sure that can work for some people, but I'm not one of them. So I started thinking about what my favorite pieces of media of all time are, and the different things I like about them. Dungeon Meshi, Baldur's Gate 3, Deltarune, Breath of the Wild, Hollow Knight. I love fantasy worlds with a lot of lore to uncover. Diverse cast of lovable characters, lighthearted silly plots that eventually get darker. Duty, I knew I wanted to do something character-driven, letting them guide the story and not the other way around. But I still wanted to have an anchor point. It can be a slice of life, but it has to have something that connects the characters. So my first thought was about co-workers, and as I mentioned before, I love fantasy, so the thought of using a tavern as the focus of our story instead of a place some adventurers could eventually stumble upon seemed fun. I could use the story to explore how the normal people in your average D&D campaign could live. You know, the NPCs. Now, my first concern was about how much I love Dungeon Meshi. It is my favorite manga of all time, and even if it's not exactly the same premise, it's obviously gonna get comparisons, since they are both about fantasy and food. Tavern Tales is more about the tavern than the actual act of cooking, but I see the similarities, mainly because I'm very inspired by it. I'm not ashamed to share my inspirations. Every character is inspired by others, so it doesn't bother me when people compare my characters to already existing ones. I find it funny when they compare them to characters I didn't even know about. Well, except when they do it in a way to accuse me of plagiarism, which that's not how plagiarism works. I also wanted the realm where the story takes place to be inspired by Spanish culture, cause I'm Spanish. I've been living in Italy for the past 4 years, and you have no idea how much I miss Spanish food. So this is my way of coping. Also because I feel when thinking about fantasy worlds, people tend to design them very similar to the stereotypical D&D worlds, and I wish more people use different cultures and settings as inspiration. Okay, let's introduce the staff. Even if I want to focus on every one of the main 6 characters and give them all balanced roles and plotlines in the story, our main character is Ro. Rosanna Revol, or Ro for short, is a young gnome woman and a waitress at the tavern. She's just your average normal person, an NPC you could meet across your D&D campaign. No, I don't want her to eventually become a hero that saves the kingdom, or have a plot twist where it gets revealed she's actually special. She's a normal woman and she's happy to keep it that way. She really dislikes adventurer parties because according to her, they are reckless buffoons always starting tavern fights, and they never tip. She comes from a loving family who is still alive, and will continue to be alive at the end of the story. Roy is currently trying to save money to pay for her master's degree in undead languages, and she really doesn't like her job as a waitress. She does get along with her boss and her co-workers, well, with almost all of them, but it's just too chaotic. Besides, she has a clear objective and she won't rest until she achieves it. For better or for worse, Ro loves linguistics and history. In this world, you need permits to cast more advanced spells, like Speak on the Dead. Because what if you try that spell on an ancient corpse and you don't speak the same language? Or you messed up the spell? Those are wasted historical and archaeological resources. You have to contact a specialist or you can get fined. And let's not even get started on communicating with ghosts and ghouls. So yeah, that's Ro's dream job, being a translator for the undead. Ro is determined and hardworking, but she tends to neglect her basic needs. Getting 2 hours of sleep because she stood up all night reading, accidentally skipping meals and having 5 cups of coffee as her diet, sitting down with the most atrocious posture a person is capable of achieving. Yup, that's Ro. No wonder she's constantly cranky and tired. As I mentioned, I wanted to redesign my characters, because their previous designs were just not good enough. Ro is the only one I had redesigned in advance, because I used her for a portfolio class assignment, but she still needed a clear reference sheet. To organize my project, I used Leonor, who happens to be the sponsor of this video, and I already had my boards for Ro done from last year. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited to collaborate with Leonor, because I've literally been using it for all my projects even before they sponsored me. For the people unfamiliar, Leonor is an organizing tool for your creative projects. But I'm gonna be honest with you, all these nice boards, they were not looking like this before. I really like how Leonor allows you to copy images from Pinterest or any other website and just directly paste them on your boards. Very convenient. I use that a lot. So before, my boards looked more or less like this. Leonor does provide many ways to organize your project and make it clear and aesthetically pleasing, like columns to sort elements or the ability to put boards inside other boards, to keep things nice and tidy. You know, so you have a clear vision of your projects just from a quick look, instead of a clutter of images that accidentally keep covering important notes. And if you're like me and really struggle with organization, it also provides many templates. I do really like the character relationship ones. It makes me kinda feel like one of those people with the conspiracy boards. So thank you Leonor for sponsoring this video and finally forcing me to organize my project, because it has, indeed, made the work a lot easier. I'll be just explaining a bit how I organize my own boards. Oh, and if you wanna check Leonor, I'll be leaving a link in the description, so after watching this video you can go create your own account for free. You can make whatever works for you. But I like keeping things simple. I do have some basic info on the characters, the current designs and old ones to have as comparison, fun facts and backstory that I might be censoring a bit because I do have some spoilers for certain characters. As I mentioned before, all my characters are inspired by other characters and real people I know. Since I'm sharing these boards with you, I'm not gonna be doxing my friends, so I'm only adding characters for the video. Yes, some of these are gonna be more obvious than others, but I feel if they get pointed out you'll start noticing the parallels too. Ro's redesign was already done months ago, so why not moving on to the next characters so I can showcase my redesign process. The other waitress currently working at the tavern is Martina, a draconian, who is the polar opposite of Ro. Bubbly, cheerful, and very extroverted, Martina loves her job as a waitress, enjoys meeting all sorts of unusual customers, and she's always excited about quests. She loves pretty flowery dresses, romance novels, and cats. Yes, she keeps adopting every stray cat she sees, and cats love to cuddle on her because her scales are so warm to the touch. I don't want to go into heavy detail with the specific parts of the backstories for some characters because I hope to explore them in depth within the actual story, and I don't want to spoil everything. But Martina used to be a warrior back at her homeland, until she was exiled after committing treason. Now for the redesign. I like her old vibes, but I hope to accentuate both her femininity and friendliness, and at the same time give her being the bubbly woman that she is. I like from her old design how the dress seemed to be flowery and, well, princessy. It does fit her well, but I think I should work more on covering her horns. The fact they are broken brings her great shame. She could not be showing them. But I'm not convinced about the way I'm covering them in the other design. I've been taking inspiration from some traditional outfits from northern Spain, so maybe I can use those to make her cuter. Martina is inspired by one of my favorite tropes, which is a tall, buff woman that could kill you if she wanted to, but she's just a bit sweetheart with golden retriever vibes. Like Scorpia from Shira and Karlach from Baldur's Gate 3. Talking about Baldur's Gate 3, the main inspiration from Martina actually comes from this game, as the form of one Dragonborn NPC you meet at the city. If you've played it, you'd immediately know which one I'm talking about. And she's so sweet! What do you mean she's just a vendor with like 5 lines of dialogue? I want more of her, so that's it, she's mine now. I'm giving her a new name, new backstory, an appearance, and a main character role. Well, anyways, Martina did not used to be the happy and caring girl she is right now. But after losing everything and thinking she was gonna spend the rest of her life as an outcast from society, when she got given a chance and offered a job by Leonor, the tavern keeper, her outlook on life fully changed. She is now content with anything, appreciating the smallest things in life and trying to be grateful and positive all the time. Also, being a draconian, a race who rarely leaves their homeland other than exiled criminals and some adventurers, she really stands out. She tries her best to seem friendly and nice, not to scare people. Which, yeah, all these things make her struggle with toxic positivity and a constant fear of losing everything again. Now, the question many people ask, is there anything between Ro and Martina? And the answer to that is, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You're the writer. On one hand, even if I don't mind side love plotlines, I'm not that particularly interested in writing a romance story. And besides, dating your coworker? Very unprofessional. Ro would never. And there's a part of me that is considering making Martina a race. On the other hand, short, grumpy gnome and tall buff ray of Sansa and dragon girlfriends? Decisions. I said to myself I was not gonna make my entire cast of characters gay, but the moment I designed Ro I was like, yes, she can't not be a lesbian. So there will be Yuri, but you will have to wait to see which character ends up with her. Working as the bartender, there's Andres, a young elf. Originally, he was more similar to the typical drow, but I didn't want my elves to just be humans with pointy ears. At first, I thought of giving them horns so they are like tieflings too, but then I had the idea of elves with unicorn ancestry, and I just like unicorns, so that's why he looks like that now. Also, looking back at his original designs, they're so bad. Like, he's so boring. There's nothing interesting about him. Was I too scared to push his design further? And what is this color scheme? No, stop. Cringe culture is dead. I'm making him colorful, I'm making him whimsical, I'm giving him a magical Link's companion. So, for his backstory, Andres used to be a paladin, working harder than anyone to become chosen by their god to save the kingdom. The chosen one turned out to be a farmer boy with 0 combat experience and the power of friendship by his side. He ended up clutching it at the last second and saving the kingdom. But there were so many avoidable casualties. Oh well, there were just nameless NPC soldiers, so it's fine. After many of Andres' friends died and he barely survived, he became cynical and a bit of a jerk, which, to be fair, is kind of understandable. He moved away from the capital and went to live with his mom, a medic who recently got a position as the head doctor for a small village. Mainly because she insisted, since after recovering from the accident, he suffers from chronic pain on his leg, and she knows that even if her son has a brave and kind soul, he's also a prideful dumbass who could rather hurt themselves rather than seem weak. Also, thank you to the people in my old drawing pointing out that I was drawing the cane incorrectly. I've done more research now, but I'm not a cane user, so don't be afraid to let me know when I mess up. While thinking about the story, I thought about how Andres could move around and go on quests with the others. Since, yeah, he can walk, but if he has to traverse difficult environments, that could be a problem. And then I was like, why not give him an animal companion? Like a familiar he can summon. Like a giant magical purple lynx. I know familiars are supposed to be smaller, so it could be closer to the summon steed spell. But screw it, it's my lore and I can do whatever I want. And you know this guy is so stubborn he couldn't stop perfecting the summoning spell until he could ride on that damn cat. And this is totally not an excuse to draw Kitty. The familiar spell is not too complex, but Andres has been perfecting it to increase the size and stamina so he can ride on his companion. This consumes a lot of mana, which means that even if one is summoned, he can keep it around as long as he needs to. Despite its size, it's incredibly weak, and the smallest injury could make it vanish until Andres has replenished his mana. He can also not choose the appearance or behavior of his familiar, but it is in fact a representation of his soul and deepest desires. Anyways, the lynx's name is Tambita and she loves ear scratches and playing with yarn. Take that as you will. If I may say it, I love how Andres looks now. He had such a glow up. I feel he's way more recognizable now and I do have a lot of fun drawing him. Sergio is the cook. Chillest guy you'll ever meet. He's usually minding his own business. When he's focused on his craft, he doesn't really notice what's around him, so he kinda misses most of the drama. And you know what? Good for him. We love an unbothered king. I feel I just gotta show you his character inspo reference and you'll get an exact idea of how Sergio is in your mind. So I think his original design is fine, nothing too creative. I feel I've improved him with his most recent iterations, but I think we can still push him a bit further. His body shape is inspired by weightlifters. He is fat and strong and can crush you if he wants to. He just doesn't want to. I know that will be disappointing for some viewers. Sergio used to be part of the same adventuring party as Leonor, the tavern keeper, and during their adventures they became extremely close friends. Sergio has always loved cooking since he was a child, and he ended up being the designated cook of the party. After retiring from adventuring, Leonor decided to open a tavern, and the first person she told about her idea was Sergio, and she asked him if he could want to work at the chef there, and he happily accepted. Sergio is not perfect by any means. He really doesn't handle criticism well. He takes every mistake he makes as a personal moral failure, even if it's just that he forgot someone asked for no pickles. And he's terrible at hiding his own emotions. Sergio really struggles with pleasing people, putting everyone's wants over his own necessities. Does he even want to continue working as a chef? He doesn't even know. He really hasn't stopped to ask himself what he even wants anymore. But as long as other people are happy, he should be too. Right? Now it's time to talk about the tavern keeper, Leonor. Alongside Andres, Leonor has changed the most out of any character. I like both her old designs, so I hope to find a way to combine my favorite parts of both of them. As I've mentioned, Leonor used to be a ranger during her youth, being part of your typical D&D party alongside Sergio, who became her best friend. Eventually, she could marry another one of her party members, settle down and start a family. She decided to open up a tavern as a way to still be in touch with the whole adventuring world and offer them a place to rest during their journeys. But she misses her glory days, and even if she promised her husband she could not get into unnecessary dangers, she will make up any excuses to go on a quest. Oh, we ran out of spices, might as well go steal them from a dragon or something. Yes, we could buy them at the city nearby, but where's the fun in that? Now, before you start making assumptions, Leonor loves her husband. He's a patient and kind man who just wants to make sure she's safe. After all, they are not that young anymore, and they barely survived their last big adventure after something went wrong. Moreover, they have children to take care of, and Leonor absolutely adores them and doesn't regret for a single second becoming a wife and a mother. But two things can be true at once. She's caring, nurturing and sweet, but also impulsive, reckless and extremely competitive. She's also a goofball who tries to be a cool boss. Sometimes succeeds and other times fails miserably. She also doesn't fully understand that her employees might not be as excited as her to go on adventures. And the last staff member is the only one who doesn't start the story working at the tavern, but will eventually get hired during the first chapters. He's Bastian, a harpy who used to be the henchman of your typical evil lord. Clumsy, constantly anxious and extremely paranoid, he could screw up almost every task. You know, your typical "right idea, boss" type of minion. The main reason he was kept around was to be a punching bag, being constantly abused by his boss, until Bastian accidentally killed him and ran away into hiding. He ended up renting a room at the tavern, and with the money he eventually stole from his boss before running away, he paid for it until he ran out of funds. Bastian has barely changed between redesigns. I have not much to say, I guess I got him right the first time. As I said, Bastian is a harpy. Harpies live in extremely reclusive matriarchal tribes, where the strongest rules, and yes, as you can imagine, he just didn't fit in and was constantly bullied. He eventually ran away, but he ended up going from one bad situation to a worse one, without any support system. Bastian is... well, he's not a fully terrible person. He just thinks everyone is planning to betray him, so may as well be ready to betray them first. But deep down he just wants to feel safe and accepted. Too bad he's his own worst enemy. I could say that out of all the characters, Bastian has the most complicated relationship with the rest of the cast. Leonor sees him as a scared kid who needs a bit of direction in his life. Andres sees him as a rat who will eventually get someone killed if no one arrests him. Ro, well, she's not particularly thrilled about the time they met and he threatened to kill her, but she has certainly met worse clients. which is fun. I love writing friendships, but I also love writing enemies. Add a problematic jerk to your cast of characters right now, it's so much fun. These were all my characters. I really want to make a webcomic with them. I was thinking of starting working on a little chapter 0 to test my comic making skills and get used to drawing them. I'm also gonna be posting mini comics of them on social media, and maybe I will finally do an animatic with them if I feel brave enough. So if you'd like to see more of them, consider subscribing. And as I mentioned, I'll be participating in Artfight next month, and all the designs I showcased in this video are gonna be used as references in their respective character profiles, in any case any of you wanted an excuse to draw any of my characters. That's all from me today though, see you in the next video, bye bye!